Ascending in Libra. When someone is said to be Libra, it is because he was born between September 23 and October 22, approximately in the period when the sun transits that sign. Instead, to know if the ascendant is in Libra, you need to know the time and place of birth, because the ascender is the sign that appears on the horizon, at the tears on the horizon, at the east point at the time of the first breath. Libra, showing itself on the horizon, suggests a destination to learn to develop as a couple, where the way of life is better when you manage to become two. Beyond inconveniences, the other always adds richness and completeness. Libra is a cardinal sign just like Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn, and this modality suggests an initiator's destiny. In addition, Libra combines the cardinal quality with the air element and proposes a life in which to learn to move in increasingly loving and inclusive bonds. All Libra ascendants will be involved in more or less situations where they will have to accompany, without proposing it, the projects of others, usually the partner or partners, feeling great ambivalences between their genuine desire to cooperate and their feeling of being dominated by the desire of the other. If he is confined to pursue only his personal aspirations, he feels uncomfortable and incomplete. But if he opens himself to the other, he senses that he will be lost in the alien. Although he often lives in alertness defending his threatened independence, fate leads him to recognize his talent to become complementary and to discover that sharing enriches. It is worth differentiating. If you're moon in Libra, you need to please and pacify. If you are of Libra, you are a conciliator and a seducer. If you are an ascendant in Libra, you must learn to accompany, to be a negotiator, and to reach peaceful agreements. Unlike the ascendant in Geminis, who also learns from others, in the ascender in Libra, destiny emphasizes one learning through another complementary partner or partners. The pattern that floods their existence is in the form of two opposite but complementary poles. He moves around determined people who force him to understand that no one does anything alone or is entirely right. He travels a path of integration of double paradigms, where his gaze must always include the opinion of another, which seems opposite, but which must find it complementary. For this reason, there will be marital and partner themes that are often very important and revealing to this ascendant. His life seems to present itself as a negotiating field or as a 2-to-2 dance, where you do not have to win, but know how to accompany. The other one takes the first step, and one must complement it in order to be the one who improves every action and every agreement. Your destiny is to open up to the alien movement, to embellish it, discover it, and improve it. His path is complementary and pacifist, and proposes a life of wisdom that transcends individualism and trusts in walking a path of two. The ascendant in Libra proposes to you to relate to get rich and never think that your best project is to isolate yourself. If he dares to share, often with a partner, his life is enriched with possibilities that would not have been presented if he remained in the distrust of his loneliness. Linking becomes fundamental, not only in a couple relationship, but also by involving yourself with your social and cultural environment to provide solidarity activities that improve and embellish you. It is common for him to participate in artistic areas, in social or protocol activities where his role becomes fundamental because he knows how to highlight the harmonic agreements and emphasize the aesthetic and the beautiful. It is surrounded by scenarios where emphasis is placed on sharing social or political interests, environments where justice is sought, negotiated, tolerant, and political. Whether you are aware of your mission or not, you must become increasingly conciliatory. That is why you attend scenes in which you must consider the other's desire and learn to negotiate and listen. The ascendant in Libra proposes to understand that his life improves when he does not speculate with being the only beneficiary in every project he encounters, to live his life with the idea of win and win, carrying out actions where the other also benefits. His fate invites him to the paradox of living in a couple without losing himself in the relationship. Learn to overcome the idea of fall in love to live a love that does not make it fall, as a couple should lead it to ascend, thanks to the love that it proposes to discover. When you are in a couple, you are much more full than when you are isolated. The Ascendant in Libra has a paradoxical destiny, since all his astrological houses start in their opposite signs and lead him to live a destiny where they learn to gather antagonistic but complementary qualities. Libra ascending organizes in a particular way the astrological houses and therefore the areas of experiences of the birth card, but in some cards with ascending in Libra, a particular phenomenon called intercepted signs may occur, which may cause that in that case not all houses match with these elements. In any case, the matrix of the ascendants and their corresponding distribution of elements and signs works the same. You only have to add punctual themes of the signs that appear different. Additional information must be added, but does not disable what is described below. How to plant the different learners of a Libra ascendant, individuality, scenarios Libra in House 1. Seductive subtlety to act or excessive dependence to start. The first sign that appears on the birth card of an ascendant Libra is Libra, and is the sign present in his House 1 or his ascendant, which is the same. It starts by complimenting and always looking for approval and company. Their receptive personality arouses the confidence of others and stimulates the creativity of their surroundings. Although the person does not recognize his empowering style of complementarity, he should go discovering it through the recurring scenes where others propose joint and complementary actions. Their action is often delicate and timely in times and forms that harmonize their surroundings with a beautiful style, because it expresses itself in just tones and ways and acts by bringing balance and peace. Without proposing it, it emits acceptance and motivates creativity, inspires and excites the person who crosses in his life, as it encourages him to express his potentialities. Libra suggests a destiny of two, both to accompany the processes of others and to know how to be stimulated by another important one. It's common to have a couple that stands out. In this case, you will have to be careful not to fade into the role of being just a couple of. Living the ascendant in Libra is living a life in which to discover the times of another person to be able to accompany their growth in harmony. Learning to be in time is becoming an aesthetic person. On the contrary, speaking out of time is unpleasant, because a young person assuming roles of mature authority or an older person trying to look young generates rejection. The ascendant in Libra can learn to perceive the right moments that facilitate the development of his environment, as his ecstasy is to recognize how, from his absolute dedication, he achieves the flourishing of the other. At a level of tension, you may misinterpret your attention to the other by living an excessively dependent life on your partner or partner. He becomes indecisive, oscillating between his own desire and the alien. His high record of alien desire depicts him and develops a hysterical personality that lives angry and tiresome by his opposite desires. Since it is difficult for her to know what she wants, she tends to symbiosis with her partner. Always in some way the couple is the protagonist, either because everything revolves around that person, or on the contrary, lives with the trauma of not being able to consolidate a couple. Aquarium in House 5. Freedom to create or invisibility and anguish to show. The fifth sign of the ascendant Libra is Aquarius, and suggests a peculiar, free and eccentric way of expressing itself, but also excessively provocative, disengaged, and rebellious. The ascendant in Libra must always solve paradoxes, because his astrological houses are activated with opposite and complementary signs. House 5, naturally self-referential and leonine, is activated with its opposite sign, Aquarius, which proposes to be open and group. He will have to solve the antinomy of wanting to draw attention, but inhibit himself if he stands out, to realize that he will really feel more himself, the less he draws attention. Aquarius in House 5 can feel that he stands out, if in his projects the others also shine and feel comfortable, because if he pretended to be the only protagonist, he would be distressed or generate excessive envy. House 5 in Aquarium needs to make identity in a free style, which values freedom, diversity, and invites everyone to have their space to express themselves as they are. The group style of Aquarius in the area of individuality invites you to understand that creativity is not exclusive to one person, that does not belong to a single individual, but must circulate between several. It proposes to value group spaces, as it discovers itself as a channeler of other people's ideas, easily captures what others want, and helps them to activate their projects without the need to stand out individually. Beyond your selfish needs or financial revenue, you can recognize that working with others, participating in social or artistic projects always revitalizes you. At a level of tension, Aquarius in House 5 can turn you apart, distant, and lead you to incarnate an eccentric, rare, and provocative personality because he doesn't care about external approval. In addition, it can lead to unnecessary disruption of projects or to discontinuation of important love relationships due to unusual sentimental deviations or unpredictable and untimely changes in plans. Aquarius also reveals how he will relate to the children and, at a level of tension, suggests excessive Aquarian detachment, which generates a distant and irresponsible bond toward them. Aquarius needs to spontaneously feel her desire to have a child, and, when it happens, she longs for it to be raised freely. However, it warns of the tendency to excessive negligence or disregard and the difficulty in supporting the responsibilities of the link. Twins in House 9, vocational adaptability or eternal doubts to find vocational path. The 9th sign of the Ascendant Libra is Geminis, and suggests a paradoxical way of synthesizing, because this ascendant must always solve ambivalences as their houses begin in opposite, and also complementary signs. House 9, naturally associated with the synthesis and confidence of Sagittarius, has its opposite sign, the dubious and skeptical Geminis. Geminis confronts him with dichotomies, doubts, and contradictions every time he has to surrender and trust. The Geminian quality synthesizes by opening and, before each search for answers or vocational or religious sense, new uncertainties are presented to it. The House 9 in Geminis and its many concerns encourage him to rethink, reformulate, and overcome the dogmas he inherited. Geminis questions the beliefs of his education because he understands that not doubting inherited ideologies is staying in a mind that circulates comfortably and ordinary. Failing to conform to the paradigms imposed by his family, he becomes a restless explorer of transcendent meaning. Geminis needs to explore new answers with a playful attitude and always open to incorporating more comprehensive ways of understanding life. He investigates different religions and belief systems that lead him to rethink the meaning of religions, and even the veracity of his own religion. As a talent, Geminis in House 9 suggests finding vocation and meaning of life in activities associated with writing, communication, and speech. It also has a naturally open attitude that would allow it to live comfortably in other countries and easily integrate into other cultures. Play and have fun on unusual trips, or incursion different philosophies of life. When he intends to study a career, he does it in a playful style, but warns of the tendency to get bored and not take his studies too seriously. He therefore finds it difficult to finish the races he begins. Scenarios of materialization Scorpio in House 2, power or conflicting dependency to generate. The second sign of the ascending Libra is Scorpio and suggests the need to understand inferiority complexes and dark projections before you can evaluate yourself and generate your own resources. The ascendant in Libra again presents the paradox of bringing together astrological houses with opposite but complementary signs. House 2 is associated with the assimilating and materializing sign of Taurus, and must learn to generate money with the intense and difficult Scorpion complexity. If House 1 is the personality manifesting in destiny, House 2 is what the person needs to have to feel that he is somebody. Scorpio in House 2 suggests the excessive need to possess financial resources in order to feel valuable. It drives you towards a voracious, intense, dependent, and competitive material conquest. At a level of tension, House 2 in Scorpio symbolizes fears and guilt that invalidate the possibility of feeling a truly valuable person. The complex and intense sign of Scorpio often makes it difficult for you to feel worthy of the good and turn it guilty, whether you have to put a price or charge for the tasks you perform. He tends to hand over control of his economy to others by assuming that others know more about values and money. rather than relying on himself to manage. In general, he is trapped in complex economic dependencies or paranoid about taking care of and preserving himself. From his insecurity, he confuses love bonds with dependency bonds. At an integration level, Scorpio in House 2 allows you to recognize your particular strength, to generate matter, and dare to stand for yourself. The more it generates, the more economic security and independence it will be. This will change your entire game of binding projections to allow you to relate to others from more common places and not from dependency or fear. Scorpio in House 2 suggests that, by generating money for himself, he transforms his destiny, because by valuing himself he changes his relationships and his partners, for he no longer needs them, but chooses them. Having money leads you to value yourself differently and to be able to relate without being through the fear of your own survival. House 6, in Pisces, empathy, everyday sensitivity or chaos, and delusion to organize. The sixth sign of the Ascendant Libra is Pisces. House 6 naturally associated with Virgo appears in this destination of complementary learning. In its opposite sign, Pisces, this suggests maximum resonance and particular perception of the needs of his environment that leads him to carry out solitary work and to try to collaborate in his work. Pisces highlights loving qualities and generates affinity and good wave with the people she works with. He can put himself in the place of the other and function well in a team. Be solidary and adapt to adverse circumstances of everyday tasks. However, he warns that his empathy with colleagues and employees can make his limits difficult or waste his days on other projects, where he must find clear guidelines not to get lost in intrascendent activities. It is difficult to recognize when it is time to interrupt a management or to avoid excessive wear or major conflicts. Pisces gives him a style too subjective to organize his daily routine that can be illogical and chaotic. He lives messed up in his rare everyday life. Pisces exacerbates his body senses, dilutes his physical limits, and makes him hypersensitive, delicate, permeable, porous, and prone to disease. It makes it difficult for you to take care of excesses, or to find the right limit for your physical demands, or to understand how far to endure a pain, or insist with an excessive effort. The talent of Pisces in House 6 is to perceive God in nature, and to intuit that the same soul that animates the human being animates all things in nature. His particular resonance with nature and with animals leads him to seek solidarity, esoteric, ecological, naturist, or artistic work, where everyone can have opportunities to develop what they like to do. House 10 on Cancer, ability to provide sensitivity and protection to working environments or infantilism and excessive dependence on work. The 10th sign of the Ascendant Libra is Cancer. Again, the signs are in their opposite and complementary houses, since House 10 is associated with Capricorn and here it has Cancer, its opposite sign. It suggests that it should find sensitive and protective ways to develop itself in the objective and pragmatic world of work. At a level of tension, it needs to feel protected in work environments. It can get out of place with childish complaints or careless responsibilities, but it can also find that it knows how to favor the encounter to create warmer and safer professional spaces and, therefore, more stable and efficient. Cancer humanizes and adds warmth and restraint to improve the world of work that tends to be cold and hostile. Your professional world is enriched when you know how to give refuge, calm and restraint, so trusting in expressing your sensitivity and your resonance will help you to feel comfortable and to develop laborally. He also suggests that his profession flows better when associated with care and protection. It finds its good social position the more it enables sensitive contact in its work and manages to resonate with what the community needs. At a level of tension, Cancer in House 10 leads him to effectivize and over-refuge in the workplace so as not to get involved in solving his emotional conflicts. It seems easier for him to develop affection at work than in his private world, and he seeks to heal emotional wounds through professional achievement. It can confuse professional spaces with family and generate complaints or misunderstandings. In these cases, efforts should be made to set clear boundaries and not to divert or deflect their work. Their tendency to make home in the workplace tends to delay the construction of their own family. It can happen the other way around, and feel that your great life undertaking is to manage to build your own family and overturn your professional growth. It is common for the Libra Ascendant to postpone his employment project to accompany his partner's professional development. Also, the House 10 in Cancer symbolizes the relationship with the authority and with the father, who will be close and affectionate, living him as an empathic, protective, and caring man. However, at a level of tension, it can also be cyclotimic, vulnerable, angry, and fearful. The father is usually expected to give solidity and security, and yet for the Ascendant in Libra, his father tends to be quite the opposite and appear dependent and childish. Link scenarios: House 3 in Sagittarius, trusted support, or fundamentalism in fraternal ties. The third sign of the Ascendant Libra is Sagittarius and suggests a confident, enthusiastic, and vehement style to speak, but at a level of tension, it warns of some ideological pride in believing that it has all the answers and does not need to learn anything from anyone. The paradoxical destiny of the Ascendant in Libra always proposes to experience the different astrological houses activated by their opposite signs. In the House 3, naturally associated with the restless and dubious Geminis, is its opposite sign, Sagittarius, synthetic and determined. At a level of tension, Sagittarius in House 3 gives you a thought free from preconceptions that communicates with excessive freedom and frontality. As he believes he already has all the answers, he is not allowed to doubt, or ask or listen to others. The sign of the teacher in the area of the dubious twin student hinders the ability to listen and tends to disqualify alien perceptions. If he despises the other, he turns away from his destiny as a loving composer. Per his tendency to pride and contempt, denounces an inferiority complex. For if he has the need to show himself superior, he must feel a profound personal insecurity. At an integration level, Sagittarius empowers him to excite with his optimistic word and resolute thinking, finds solutions where others are complicated, and highlights the positive with convincing ideas that make him an excellent communicator. Sagittarius in House 3 has a religious mind because it relies answers and senses to go resolving according to what happens. Thanks to its inclusive look, it can reach agreements. It relates with a generous and cheerful style that facilitates fluid contact with its environment. His communication is vibrant and enthusiastic, but he must be careful not to cling to his dogmatic ideas or deny the conflicts that others pose to him. House 3 also symbolizes the relationship with peers, and in particular, with their brothers and sisters. It suggests a fluid, cheerful, enabling, optimistic, and fun bond. But, at a level of tension, it symbolizes complications with dogmatic brothers, fanatics, or deniers. Relationships with peers that are supposed to be close and fraternal can be diametrically the opposite, and have brothers very distant because of their ideologies, or physical distancing because of living in other countries. House 7 in Aries. Does the couple push you and give you courage, or does he feel stuck and hurt in the relationship? House 7 in Aries suggests that partnership and societies will be important drivers of action and courage. Again, his Libyan learning raises the paradox of gathering opposite signs in complementary houses. Aries initiator and competitive appears in the area of the complement. The one who should follow his own steps is the one who knows what he wants and who expresses his wishes explicitly and decisively. The couple always seems to be the one who initiates and proposes projects that stimulate them. He is seduced by desirable and bold people of vehement and defined personality, but also suffers from living them too aggressive or intrusive. At a level of tension, Aries in House 7. Aries in House 7 suggests that he is attracted to both entrepreneurial and courageous people, as well as the overwhelming ones. He tends to postpone his own desire and to give up his plans to hand over to the couple the command of his own destiny. The vigor of the other person kindles him, but it also makes him feel the disabled of the relationship. She must learn not to compare herself with her partner or to rival, to encourage herself to develop a love that activates the autonomy and confidence of the two people. It means that no one competes, but that they stimulate each other, because their destiny is to learn to walk with another without losing. Her life flows best when she discovers how to oscillate between her own desire and the alien, as she must learn to dance a life that includes a rhythm of two. The possibility to arm a couple without losing in it will be key to their self-discovery, because by being with another manages to know each other in depth. In a love bond, he learns more about himself and discovers a desire that is not individual, but that is revealed by being together. The other is his best mirror, because in a couple he discovers his darkest and also brightest aspects according to the responses that provokes him. He sees himself in how he speaks, judges, calculates, and condemns his partners. He may idolize or hate the current or ex-wife. The same goes for the other. Always reveals personal traits that he does not dare to assume as his own. The relationship is a reflection that shows you what you are rejecting in yourself. It is common not to be in a couple or to avoid a loving commitment because you feel that relationships overwhelm you. Couples often leave indelible marks, and it is generally difficult for you to get rid of those intense relationships to continue your journey without the burden of the past. There is no fluidity in the life of this ascendant, if the bond with the mate or with the ex-parents remains unresolved, for he lives trapped in outstanding issues that stop his present and his new bonds. The ascendant in Libra must bet on recycling and trying again to be in a couple without waiting for the perfect formula, and understand that every vital and dynamic relationship always has a share of pain, because without tension, it would not bring learning and would turn into a distant bond. Many times, to avoid suffering, you do not commit to any relationship, or you get kicked and stuck in a couple without love. These are two ways to freeze your challenge of truly meeting another complementary. Its Libyan destiny does not favor to command itself alone or to impose itself, but quite the opposite, rather to include and register. If judgments or legal conflicts are presented to him, this ascendant proposes to open up to negotiation, knowing that he will never be able to win or impose his will in absolute ways, because his way is to learn to concede, since surrender without speculation completes him. House 11 in Leo. Creative vitality or envious comparison with friends. The 11th sign of the ascendant Libra is Leo, and again shows the paradox of having Leo, the most self-referential sign, in the field that proposes to open up to the creativity of others. It challenges him to bring together opposing and complementary qualities. The Leonian vibration in the area of group openness suggests learning to release and let the creativity of others circulate without pretending to appropriate or be the center, to discover that the more you let others shine, your projects become more stimulating and creative. House 11 in Leo suggests a destination where the quantity and quality of vibrant friends circulate that bring inspiring ideas into your life. Reading and interaction with strangers usually falls well, has good tact and excellent affinity of treatment, and can turn it into the soul of the parties. The lion vibration emits joy and attracts new people and new projects that add and multiply shared creativity. House 11 is the creativity of each other and also symbolizes the children of the other. He often suggests and facilitates the creation of assembled families and commits himself to the children of his partner. However, in Leo's tense appearance, it can generate eternal offenses and pressure to be the center of the relationship, competing with his partner's children, and produce more tensions that add to the already conflicting themes of his Libyan destiny. House 11 also symbolizes integration into society. Leo is interested in bringing creative projects to his environment and his community, often engaging and putting heart in cultural and artistic activities and promoting cultural and artistic activities and promoting cultural and social encounters. Emotional scenarios. House 4 in Capricorn. Emotional maturity or loneliness, demands and emotional coldness. Again, the house associated with Cancer is activated with its opposite sign. Capricorn, lonely and responsible in the area of the home, which, although cold and distant, also gives you a pragmatic and solid emotional base to self-support and connect safely and independently. However, at a level of tension, he warns of his excessive tendency to loneliness and self-sufficiency that leads him to avoid relating to others. The talent of this house, 4 in Capricorn, will be a solid and responsible emotional base that allows you to bind without complaints or symbiosis. He tends to be sensible, pragmatic, realistic, and resolute on affective and family issues. Her Capricorn emotional base feels calm and secure in loneliness, and no need for anyone. His family educated him from the effort, and from a very young age, he was assigned excessive and early responsibilities that, as an adult, often lead him to postpone the demands of forming his own family. Other times, it can become identified with its responsible role and commit itself at an early age to arming its own home and turning it into its big business, which often inhibits its employment development. Capricorn was educated from a young age to fix them on his own and not to ask. So when he feels needy or hurt, he does not seek help or communicate. Consolidated in a safe but cold emotional refuge, he remains lonely and does not get involved with others. He relates socially in correct and polite ways, but tends to cool out encounters that may lead him to true commitments. He becomes pleasant and affable from the formal, but infrangible in his intimacy. The house 4 in Capricorn suggests that he had lived a childhood where everything seemed right and where there could be some couple fathers, uncles, or grandparents that seemed to him a model to follow because it was a strong and solid love bond, a couple of complementarity between these two people, who strongly accompanied each other in front of his eyes. This kind of relationship is often imagined as the unattainable model of an ideal partner. House 8 in Taureau. Sexual power or stubbornness to open up to what is not understood. The 8th sign of the Ascendant Libra is Taurus, and denounces that excessive attachment to self will make it difficult for him to learn to be included with another. House 8 symbolizes the ability to discern and distribute, and the heavy Taurine mass finds it difficult to include the needs of the other in dealing with any kind of negotiation. He tends to protect himself in the loneliness of himself and not to risk or lose his comfort. His retentive style encloses him in his comfortable Taurine world, where he needs nothing or anyone and clings to a solitary routine that inhibits any encounter. He may have confirmed his fear of losing his own with a couple from the past with whom he lived too symbiotically and with which he failed too many things, and is afraid to repeat it again. House 8 in Taureau suggests overcoming the belief that you need or don't need a couple because a need-based relationship will only bring conflict. To use the other for the purpose of one's own survival is not love but selfishness. Pretending to get something through a link is speculation, and I don't find it. A relationship of need is based on fear of self-survival and entails envy, mistrust, and competition, and often leaves it stuck to their relationships. You must make a conscious effort to overcome your weightiness, stubbornness, or inertia, to speculate or to remain in comfortable relationships, and to question what the true meaning of the bond is, beyond the comfort or stability that it achieves. As a talent, Taurus in House 8 trains him to self-observe without moving, to remain in his dark feelings without judging them or calling them evil. Success in not judging yourself will allow you not to judge others. Not to be afraid of their hostile and dependent affectivity is the first step to transcend their excuses of remaining attached to dependence and fighting. If you manage to resignify your fears, recycled Taureau gives you unusual power and a great erotic and sensory sense. This ascendant invites to incorporate as something natural the possibility of sexual ties that do not necessarily involve a romantic relationship, since Taureau lives sexuality as a totalizing experience that wakes up the deepest levels of creativity, beauty, and exaltation. It is likely that, although it is not known, at the time when the person with Taureau descent was born, his or her family or close environment was going through some economic crisis, or struggles and material conflicts, or a climate of economic insecurity, which left an unconscious fear about his own survival that leads him to retain goods and people more than healthy or necessary. House 12 in Virgo. immense adaptability, or infinite criticism? The 11th sign of the Ascendant Libra is Virgo, and suggests an extreme need to remain isolated, dreaming that in his ordered world of confinement, no one can disturb or hurt him. He holds on to his methodical routines, tries to avoid any change, and is convinced that his life will be quieter if he remains closed and never opens to the other. He lives trapped in an unconscious conspiracy, according to which he believes that if he is bound, he is harmed, and if he opens himself to a relationship, there is always criticism and restriction. He usually lives hypnotized in a labyrinthic mind that always finds new problems or new defects in others. He may remain all his life in this critical attitude, which excuses him from opening himself to bondage, and become crystallized in his own personal obsession, which remains compulsively ordering and controlling in solitude. At an integration level, the House 12 in Virgo perceives a matrix of order, where it can witness the cycles and the universal times of things, which allows it to move with appropriate tones and modes, and endow it with an unusual talent to discern efficient actions. The House 12 in Virgo resonates with a universal order that knows how to get rid of problems in time not to bring them to the next day. The virgin quality of his House 12 gives him the utmost wisdom to discard conflicts and to understand the right place of each thing and of each person. From his humble and objective gaze, can always bring peaceful and conciliatory solutions to his ties. The passage from House 12 in Virgo to Libra will be from critical observer to loving negotiator. Summary of the Ascendant in Libra modality: cardinal, initiator, element, air linker, learning by destination, initiator of ties, pacifist, composer and mediator, good partner, ally and partner, tendency, staying in a routine personal security or methodology without opening up to the other, suffers, hysterical people who do not define, fail to be in a couple or get lost in the couple, regent planet, Ves, parts of the body that rule, and of special vulnerability, kidneys and bladder. Period of basic learning, from 14 to 21, which will resume between 28 and 35 years of age. Life mission: pacifist conciliator, misunderstanding of his mission, hysterical and eternal indecisions about what to do with his life. Distribution of signs for ascending in Libra: their action destination is Libra. Generate with Scorpio. Communicate with Sagittarius. Emotionally stabilize with Capricorn. Express yourself with Aquarius. Organize with Pisces. Complement with Aries. Turn into Taurus. Trusting Gemini. Working with Cancer. Open up to new projects with Leo. Resonate with Virgo. If this ascendant finds a way to integrate these proposals, it will. A conciliator's destiny. Generate with deep commitment. Communicate in confident and enthusiastic ways. Be emotionally pragmatic. Express yourself freely and creatively. Organize with resonance and intuition. Completing each other act by transforming, recycle abundance. Trust with openness and without prejudice. Work with high sensitivity and protective capacity. Open up to the new with creative generosity. Resonate with the efficiency needed to improve each situation. If this ascendant does not find a way to integrate these proposals, he will suffer a destiny of doubts and hysteria. Generate resources in conflict dependency. Communicate dogmatically and overwhelmingly. Be emotionally cold and distant. Show yourself crazy and rebellious. Organize in chaotic and confusing ways. Complement each other by fighting and attacking. Instead of transforming, become more stubborn. Difficulty fully trusting something, someone or yourself. To justify their effective deficiencies by working. To compete in excess. To measure their importance and to compare with others. Be enchanted with criticizing and highlighting faults.